Some pistols were built for home defense. Others were built to help us survive what comes after. Want to know what kind of handguns are rugged enough, affordable enough, and practical enough to end up buried in bug-out bags, glove boxes, and underground caches across America? In this video, we'll talk about the most hoarded pistols among preppers, old-school military surplus, ultra-budget workhorses, and modular handguns that can shift from duty size to conceal carry with just a parts swap. Whether it's the Cold War steel of a surplus Tokarev, the polymer reliability of a Glock 19, or the ridiculous price to performance of the Hi-Point YC9, each pistol on this list earns its place for a reason. We'll walk through their history, explain why they're being stashed by the millions, and break down what makes them reliable when everything else falls apart. We'll also look at rugged throwbacks like the Ruger P89 and Beretta 92 FS, among other things. There's something in here for every type of prepper, regardless if you're only building your first stash or you're rounding out your 10th cache. Stick around, you might just discover your next must-have survival sidearm. A lot of preppers commonly gravitate toward Glock pistols because of their simple design, durable build, and abundant part supply. The Glock 17 debuted in the early 1980s when Gaston Glock used polymer frames and striker-fired mechanisms in a pistol that changed how many people think about handguns. It was adopted by the Austrian Army under the name Pistole 80 and featured a 17-round magazine, a total loaded weight near 33 ounces, and a design that was quick to break down with just a few pins. Later came the Glock 19 in 1988. Sized slightly smaller, yet maintaining the same reliability and interchangeability of magazines and components. Either model works for multiple roles, from daily home defense to duty carry. The 17 sights well in an open carry holster or a home security drawer, while the 19 is popular as a concealed carry companion or bug-out bag staple. Both run on Glock's Safe Action system, which includes 3 internal safeties and avoids a manual thumb safety. That helps if someone needs the weapon fast in stressful circumstances. Another perk is the 9mm chambering, which is in huge demand for both commercial and military use worldwide. Preppers in particular like how well Glocks hold up under abuse. They function despite dust, moisture, or poor maintenance, and that's a plus when you're stocking gear for possible crises. Recoil springs, magazines, and small parts are all common and affordable. A new Glock 19 Gen 5 or Glock 17 Gen 5 will run around $620, and there are used options at lower price points. Magazines can go up to 33 rounds, which appeals to anyone who wants additional capacity. For many folks readying for worst-case scenarios, Glocks represent that worry-free sidearm you can rely on when support systems fail. There's a reason some older Ruger P-series guns keep turning up among survival-minded folks. These pistols are bulky, almost clunky, but strong as an anvil and ready to keep shooting long after many others might quit. The line started in 1985 with the P85, a 9mm that came too late to beat out Beretta in military trials. Law enforcement groups took notice, though, and so did civilian shooters who appreciated robust construction over sleek form. Later variants included the P89, P90, P95, and others. Some used aluminum alloy frames, while the P95 introduced a polymer version. One consistent theme remained: they worked. Ruger's approach involved a double-action, single-action trigger, a locking mechanism adapted from Browning's tilting barrel, and investment cast parts. Magazines ranged from 7-round single-stack 45 ACP versions to 15-round 9mm designs, and the company included ambidextrous controls on many models. While never the trendiest pistols, they built a following among people who valued function. These guns can be found in battered form at local shops, and often the worst they need is a good cleaning and lubrication to fire reliably again. Preppers who want a tough sidearm at a budget price often locate a used P-series in the $200 to $300 range. There may be minor quirks, like older magazines that don't fit newer frames, but that's manageable for those who do a little research. Spare parts aren't quite as ubiquitous as Glock spares, but they're still around. A big appeal is how little these guns cost compared to similarly robust pistols, so it's no sacrifice to store one in a trunk or a hidden lockbox. When you need to pull the trigger, they're known to cycle ammunition without complaint. They might not match modern polymer pistols in style, but they often outlast them in pure day-to-day reliability. Back in 2012, Smith & Wesson released the original M&P Shield, and it quickly became a top choice for carry. Time passed, and new designs like the SIG P365 and Springfield Hellcat arrived with higher capacities. The Shield Plus emerged as Smith & Wesson's response, keeping the same slim profile but boosting its round count. It still weighs only about 19.7 ounces, with an overall length of 6.1 inches. Now it holds 10+1 with a flush-fit magazine and 13+1 with an extended mag. That capacity, combined with the 9mm chambering, has caught the attention of preppers who want a discreet firearm that can still handle unexpected threats. The Shield Plus also comes with a new flat-face trigger. Factory pull tests measure around 5.5 pounds. Shooters describe it as crisp, with a short reset that aids quick follow-up shots. The grip texture strikes a middle ground. It's firm enough to secure the pistol in sweaty hands, yet it won't shred your sight if you carry inside the waistband. Sights are steel, arranged in a 3-dot pattern. Some folks wish for night sights right out of the box, or an optic cut slide, but many simply add those later if they want an upgrade. Part of its purpose is to stay hidden until needed. The slim dimensions make it comfortable for all-day carry under casual clothes, or as a spare in a vehicle. The company's MSRP lands near $553, which is competitive among small 9mm pistols with similar features. People who plan for uncertain times appreciate that it's easy to fire accurately, straightforward to maintain, and sized for nearly any scenario. It slides into a bug-out bag or glove box and remains ready in case everything else falls apart. That combination of concealability and decent firepower explains why so many have it in their personal stash. Budget limitations drive many preparedness decisions, and Taurus pistols like the G2C and G3C meet that need better than most. The G2C took off in popularity because it gave shooters a subcompact 9mm at a price starting around $199, with street prices to this day still under $200. Taurus refined the concept with the G3C, which carries a listed MSRP of $308 and often sells closer to $250 to $260. Both weigh less than 27 ounces loaded, measure about 6.22 inches long, and carry 12+1 rounds in the standard magazines. They share a polymer frame and a striker-fired trigger, though the G3C introduced forward slide serrations and a more refined finish. These pistols balance a small footprint with decent capacity. The G3C in particular adds Glock-compatible sight cuts, enabling a wide range of aftermarket sight upgrades. There's also a red dot ready version known as the G3C Toro, which arrives with mounting plates included. While neither model is brimming with high-end features, they remain reliable in everyday use, and that reliability is enough for many who plan for emergencies. These pistols fill an important niche. They're cheap enough to buy in multiples, simple enough to train new shooters, and rugged enough for someone on a strict budget. It's not uncommon to hear about preppers tucking away a G2C or G3C in various remote spots or backup kits, trusting they'll function if the main gear is lost or damaged. Magazines are affordable, spare parts are improving in availability, and the overall package is straightforward. They might not carry the same reputation as a Glock or Smith & Wesson, but for the money, it's tough to fault them. For many, that cost-to-value ratio is exactly what they're looking for when stocking up on sidearms. Hi-Point has never tried to win beauty contests, and the YC9, often called the Yeet cannon, probably proves that best. It's a chunky blowback 9mm that weighs around 35.7 ounces unloaded when you add an optic, which is heavier than many larger caliber handguns. That heft is part of the design, since the slide mass helps manage chamber pressure without fancy locking systems. The YC9 retails for about $229 in a basic configuration, or $325 if you want a Crimson Trace red dot pre-installed. The low price is a major draw, especially for those who want an extra pistol stored in a backup location. This new iteration updates the original C9's features. The barrel measures 4.12 inches and is threaded half by 28 threads per inch for adding a suppressor or other muzzle device. The front sight is shaped to fit Glock patterns, so you can swap in fiber optic or night sights if the simple yellow dot isn't your style. The YC9 also introduces a grip safety, accessory rail, and a reworked magazine design that holds 10 rounds in a staggered stack. It isn't sleek or refined, but it handles typical range loads well, and the added weight tends to soften felt recoil. Preppers keep turning to Hi-Points for two reasons: price and functionality. These pistols often keep working in rough environments, and if one ever breaks, the company is known for a no-questions-asked warranty. People feel comfortable burying one in a box or stuffing it under a truck seat. The Yeet Cannon label might generate jokes online, but it doesn't change the fact that it's an affordable 9mm that can be counted on to fire. Someone with limited funds can buy several YC9s and stash them in different places without straining the wallet. That's the exact scenario many see as key in a doomsday plan. Some older Eastern Bloc pistols have quietly found their way into prepper collections for good reason. The Makarov and Tokarev both emerged from the Soviet era, and they still managed to show up as tough, low-budget options with plenty of historical character. The Makarov replaced the Tokarev TT-33 in the late 1940s. It fires the 9x18mm Makarov round, which sits between 380 ACP and 9mm Luger in power. People often find it in East German, Bulgarian, Russian, or Chinese versions. East German models tend to fetch higher prices because of excellent build quality. The design is blowback operated, so it's easy to strip and maintain, but a snappy recoil can surprise those accustomed to tilt-barrel pistols. The Tokarev itself is older, dating back to the 1930s, and chambers the 7.62x25mm round. That bottlenecked cartridge generates serious velocity, which is why it punches deep and produces a loud report. Various nations produce Tokarev variants, including Romania, Yugoslavia, the M57, Poland, and China. Yugo models deviate from the rest because they take distinct magazines, so that's something to confirm when purchasing. Folks shopping for either pistol typically find decent prices, with Bulgarian Makarovs around $400 to $450 and most Tokarevs in the $350 to $400 range. Surplus examples without added safeties can climb well into 4 digits, especially if they're early Russian pieces. Makarov ammo still costs less than the Tokarev's 7.62x25mm, which has inched upward in price as supplies shrink. Both designs appeal to budget-conscious preppers looking for rugged handguns that have simple working parts and wide availability of spares. A Tokarev brings more muzzle energy, and a Makarov slips into smaller spaces, so it's easy to pick the one that fits a particular need. The Beretta 92 series might be recognized worldwide because it replaced the 1911 in U.S. military service under the M9 designation. It's an Italian creation that arrived in the 1970s, eventually chosen by the American Armed Forces in 1985. People still run into them on deployment, as they served for decades in various branches. The 92 FS design uses a falling locking block mechanism that keeps the barrel from tilting, producing very smooth recoil. It's not especially small or lightweight at around 33 ounces unloaded, but it has a reputation for reliability that many appreciate. Magazines generally hold 15 rounds, though 17 and 18-round versions exist, and older surplus mags are often cheap. The double-action pull is a bit heavy, while single-action breaks near 6 pounds. Some find the full-size grip large if they have smaller hands, but there are modifications available, such as shorter reach triggers or lighter hammer springs. The pistol's aluminum frame and open-top slide help it cycle reliably, even in dusty or sandy conditions. New Beretta 92 FS pistols generally start around $700, while used or surplus units can vary. The supply of parts is extensive, and armorers have decades of experience repairing them. Preppers see the 92 FS as a proven sidearm with connections to both military history and everyday practicality. Large numbers of spare parts, magazines, and holsters exist. Some folks remember the occasional stories about cracked slides in the early years, but that was linked to extremely high-pressure rounds and punishing tests. In normal use, the 92 FS rarely disappoints. There are also aftermarket support options that let owners tweak triggers and sights to taste. It's not as ubiquitous as it used to be, but it remains a strong choice for long-term preparedness. And that's a wrap. Do you own any of the pistols on this list? Got a story to tell? Let us know in the comments. And please hit like if you learned something new, share this with your fellow 2A buddies, and don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.